after a short break, we've not been on air for a couple of months now, taking a bit of a break over Christmas and New Year's. We are back with our first show of 2021, and what a guest we have in store for today. We nearly had this guest on the Wrestling with Jonas podcast in November, but we had to reschedule. But the day has finally arrived, and I'm delighted to introduce our guest today, none other than Adam Maxted. So, Adam, brilliant to have you on the Wrestling with Jonas podcast. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Pleasure to be your first guest of 2021.
Yeah, big interview for 2021. Yep.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're very, very welcome. So, I mean, we're going to touch on everything kind of pro wrestling. We're going to talk about your wrestling fandom. We're going to talk about how you got into the business and bring us right up to speed with what you're up to kind of wrestling wise, or maybe not so much wrestling wise in 2021. But I want to kind of ask my first question, kind of how is life treating you at the moment with everything going on? Obviously, we're 10 months or so into a worldwide pandemic. How has that changed your daily routine, especially with regards to lockdown affecting gyms, affecting businesses, many wrestlers having to find new and innovative ways to stay fit and healthy, mostly from the home. But how is life treating you at the moment?
Well, firstly for me, I'm feeling like 100% again. So, of course, when we were supposed to do this back in November, I ended up in hospital for a little bit. Cut a long story short, and a lot of technical names and stuff. I ended up just having like really bad food poisoning, to put it like in the simplest of forms. But it kind of like messed me up inside for a little bit. So I ended up in hospital for like a week and a half, and then on antibiotics and stuff, like a drip every day, like for like 2 weeks after that. So I ended up losing 2.5 stone as well of muscle. So that messed with my head a lot as well, because I've built my physique up over the past like 7 or 8 years, and literally in the space of like 2 weeks, it was gone, everything that I'd worked for. So, and that really affected me and stuff. But like I said, I've just got back from Egypt. We were there for 2 weeks, and I was smashing the gym there, and I put that size back on. I'm literally almost back up to the weight and the size that I was before I got sick. So, it's just amazing to see what the human body can do. Like, it bounced back, and I'm feeling good again. But in terms of like my routine and stuff, this year it hasn't been ideal, because I've said in a couple of podcasts before, before this COVID pandemic hit, I was really building a lot of momentum, and my name is getting out there a lot more, because I wrestled quite a lot on like Butlins and the holiday parks. Yeah. But I was also like, I won the OTT Gender Neutral Championship, and I was getting consistent matches at ICW with the Kings of the North, and then some singles stuff as well. So, things were just going really, really good. And, I was in touch with WWE and stuff as well. And, things were going great. And then this whole pandemic hit. And, like I say, my routine, I'm using the gym like twice a day, 6 days a week, and playing football and stuff as well at the weekends and stuff. So all that stuff that, is just great for not just your physique and your health, but also your mental health and keeping your mind good. So all that's obviously been put on hold. But I think the best thing I can say to anyone that's listening to stuff is that at least everyone's going through this together. We're not alone. I've said this before. Everyone's kind of suffering. It's not like if you're a wrestler, people are getting ahead of you, or they're getting better, because we're all kind of on hold at the moment. Yeah. Apart from those that are fortunate enough to be able to be still wrestling. But I'm just being positive. I've got my health, and that hospital stint really kind of made me put things in perspective, that like within a couple of days you can literally take ill, or something can happen, and it can change the way things happen to you. So it kind of opened my eyes, and I'm just glad to be feeling good again, and I'm just dying to wrestle again, really. Like I say, I have so much wrestling to catch up on as well over this past couple of weeks, like Wrestle Kingdom and stuff. And obviously being in Egypt, the Wi-Fi there was really, really bad, so I couldn't really watch anything. So and usually I watch everything, but
yeah, I mean, when you do catch up with Wrestle Kingdom, you're in for a treat, Adam. You're in for an absolute treat. And there's been a few other good shows from NXT and AEW, but you've got all of that to catch up on, I'm sure. But I mean, just touching on something you said there, I mean, 2020, was set to be another phenomenal year for you, wasn't it, really? I mean, it started off brilliant. I think it was very early into January last year when you won the OTT Gender Neutral Championship against Mark Haskins in a hell of a match. You became the MEW champion for the third time at the end of that month. You wrestled throughout February and March, and then it kind of all came to a grinding halt, didn't it? So, I mean, how has it felt? I mean, you've touched on it already, but how has it felt not being able to get into a ring, not being able to train and perform, at a competitive level that you used to for the last 10 months, almost a year, really.
Yeah, well, what I will say, luckily, when we were having these breaks from the lockdowns, I was able to get in a ring. So I was straight back in. I was doing my rolls. I was doing drills because I just wanted to keep that those reps in, because I just didn't want to sit back and think, well, I don't know when the next show is going to be, so there's no point in me doing anything. It's kind of something I pride myself on, is just staying consistent, putting in the work, and always working to get better. So even if it's just an empty ring in a warehouse, I can be in there doing stuff to make sure that when lockdown, hopefully, or when this, the vaccine and stuff all kicks in and people start getting better and things, then when the matches and the shows are back happening again, I'm not too far behind. I'm ready to go. So, and just ring cardio as well. Like, I can go to the gym. I cycle to the gym every day. I do cardio in the gym. I do CrossFit workouts, but there's no cardio like being in the ring and like doing drills and things that just blow you up. I don't care what anyone says, that they're like, oh, I can run 10K or whatever. Get in a wrestling ring and try and just wrestle for 10 minutes and just see how absolutely wrecked you are. So. And a lot of my year, like I say, is built up with being at Butlins and things and stuff, and just being on the road with the guys. I'm missing that, just being out and about, and just that companionship and that brotherhood of traveling together, eating together, training together. And that took up a big part of my year. Like, anytime the kids were off school in the UK, which like February, during the summer, October, December, I was wrestling like 6 days a week. So I'm just missing that, because that is the reason why. Like, I don't some people say, oh, you do the camp show or you do the Butlins wrestling, but that is the reason why I made the improvements that I did in such a short space of time, like in the past 2 years. And people saw, like, whenever I was coming back to places like OTT and ICW, people were seeing such vast improvement in me, and that started those reps and wrestling 6 days a week on holiday camps. Yeah, it might be in front of kids and families, but that's where you're learning, and that's where like your ring presence and learning timing and things and just all this stuff starts to come together. So
it's all repetition, isn't it? So putting in the reps.
100%. Just like the gym, everything. The more you put the time in at something, a craft that you want to learn, then the better you're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And another kind of COVID-related question, I suppose, and with a lot of people being housebound or kind of working from home, a lot of people are really into their Netflix series or their Amazon Prime. I know I've certainly binge-watched a few series that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. But have you kind of got into the whole kind of Netflix and Amazon Prime? And are there any series that you've been watching or could recommend?
Well, I think Cobra Kai for everyone.
Yes, I need to catch up on that. Catch up on that.
just started season 3, so hopefully it'll lead on to season 4. But if I'm not, like, usually when I'm home, I'm watching wrestling or I'm watching football. Because there's a lot of football still on the Premier League.
There is.
So like those are my main two sports, like wrestling and football. But there's also a series called All American, which is an American series, and I'm not like I would love to have played NFL, and like I actually still don't understand the game, but I think I would have been good at it with my athleticism. But
yeah,
I'm like a diehard NFL fan, so I started this series, and it's actually class. So that's one that I would recommend.
That's pretty cool.
To be honest, I haven't really watched much else apart from that. I started the new Bryan Cranston one. I think it's called Your Honor.
Right.
So I'm only like 2 episodes into that, but that seems to be going down pretty good. Like he's like the head judge of state in America, and his son like does a hit and run, and so it kind of shows how morals can be changed to protect your family and stuff. But I won't give too much away. So.
Some awesome recommendations there, Adam. And Cobra Kai, I need to catch up on. I do need to catch up. I think I've only started watching season 2, so that's bad on me. But I will get there. And apparently, the season finale of season 3 is awesome. But let's talk a bit about your wrestling fandom then, if we can, because I'm guessing that you've been a long-term, possibly a lifelong wrestling fan. You're gonna correct me, I'm sure. But at what age did you first become aware of professional wrestling, and what kind of got you hooked into pro wrestling as a fan then, Adam?
So when I was younger, again, this is all blurred to me. I was like maybe 4, and I got put into foster care because my mom was quite unwell, and they said that she wasn't able to look after me and stuff. So I was in foster care for like 3 or 4 years, and like my earliest memory is just the couple that looked after me, and like they were really good to me, and they did their job amazingly. But the man, he was called Billy. He used to take me to when he was visiting his mum. And I just remember it must have been WCW, because I just remember like Sting and stuff, and just like obviously they put it on to keep me occupied, because when I'm a young kid I don't want to be sat in an old lady's house while some guy, this man's film being his mum kind of. So to keep me occupied, they put the wrestling on, and I just remember being hooked instantly. And then obviously really enjoyed it. But I'll be honest, when I was in school, like in my early teens, I kind of grew out, like not grew out of it, but it wasn't the cool thing. No one was really talking about it. So that's when my love for football came in, and I just was, playing football all the time. I wasn't really watching wrestling. I would have seen the odd clips and stuff, like when the WWE experience was on the Sunday. I would have like flicked on and kind of just saw what was happening and stuff, but I wasn't sitting religiously and watching it, and definitely had no idea that it was a career option or something that I could pursue, or else I definitely feel like it would have been I just never thought it was possible. I thought you had to be like from America and like over 6'5" and these huge guys that got signed to the WWE. And it wasn't until really when I started working in Salou, doing a few summers abroad, which was when I was like 21, that I saw that Joe Cabre, who runs OTT, he'd been signed to developmental in NXT, and I just kind of remember, I was on the Sun website on my laptop when I was in Marbella, and I was just blown away that like people from Ireland were getting signed to WWE, and I kind of really started looking into it and seeing that, because it was obviously only Sheamus really that I would have known that was there, and even then he's a big guy, and I just thought I never thought it was a possibility. So that experience really opened my eyes, and then as soon as I got back from that summer working abroad, I was like, right, I'm going to start training, because there's people from this small island, right beside the UK, that are making it to the WWE and stuff. So it really like opened my eyes, and that's when I got started.
Yeah, so you got back into wrestling as a fan around about the age of 21. I'm guessing you started training shortly after that, then, Adam? Did you?
Yeah, it would have been, I think. I probably started training when I was like 22. It's like the past couple of years of my career stuff have just it seems like it's gone so fast that I'm like, I can't put dates in like years to think. But I just remember getting back, and it just so happened that Joe, who had been in developmental, that actually came back to Ireland and was starting coaching again. So I remember I started wrestling training in the school in Belfast, and then I was getting a bus down to Dublin, which is like 2 hours away from Belfast, to train with Joe, and then like 2 hours back up. But I just wanted to try and like get as much experience and much knowledge of like, right, okay, how do I do this?
That's a lot of dedication. That's a long bus journey.
Yeah, but you got to put the time in if you want to.
You have.
And also I think like back then I started the gym and I was in good shape. I wasn't as big as I am now and stuff, but I think people could see then, okay, this guy's kind of got a bit of a look about him and potential, and I kind of have natural athleticism and stuff as well. So, and that's when things really got started for me. I mean, that would have been like 2015.
Yeah.
When I started really training, I think I had my first match like in 2015, and then first chance on OTT was like 2016, when Joe kind of thought, okay, I'm going to give a couple of these young guys that have been training for a while an opportunity. And we didn't know what we were doing. Like I wasn't ready because that crowd by then were like a real hardcore, like wrestling, OTT, beer, over 21s. And, if you shit the bed, they're going to let you know about it kind of. Yeah. And, there were occasions that I did, but the thing I think Joe respects me for is I just was the first one to be like, okay, Joe, how did that go? What I need to do to get better? Feedback all the time. So, and little that I know, as you get better and get more experience in the ring, you're only going to get better when you're in there with people more experienced than you, and you've just got to be patient. And that's what I didn't realize then, but I've realized now that it's just about putting in the work.
Absolutely. But before you started your training, kind of your formal training, I think you alluded to a bit of a sporting background, possibly football. But did you start your kind of weight training before you started your wrestling training? Because you've always had a good physique, I'm guessing, or certainly in your kind of early adulthood.
Yeah. So my mom's actually been a personal trainer like most of my life. So she still is a personal trainer to this day, and she's like 51 now.
Yeah.
So growing up, like, there's obviously people out there that struggle with their diet and like health eating and things, but my mum is like obsessed with organic food and stuff, and always. So we might not have had materialistic things, but there's always good food in the house. She always put like that as a priority. Like, I'm going to get organic Marks and Spencer stuff. Like, she spent her money basically making sure we had good food. So
good nutrition.
Yeah. So like, I don't struggle with a diet as such, because I kind of really have never known anything else. There's always been good food in my fridge. And obviously she was working in a gym when I was like 16, 17, 18. So I was able to start, lifting weights then, which back then it was just chest and biceps because that's all I cared about, because I was like, well, that's all girls care about, so I'm going to get a jack chest and big arms, so when I'm in a nightclub and I've got, a drink in my hand, my tries are popping, that's all I worried about. And admittedly, I didn't train legs for the first couple of years when I started the gym, and I definitely smashed legs now. So anyone listening out there that is starting the gym or doesn't train legs, you got to train your legs.
Indeed.
Yeah. Especially when your job is being in tight little pants for a living, and you want to have delicious quads popping out.
There you go. Tip of the day from Adam Maxted there. But let's talk a bit more about your training, because am I right in thinking that you were trained by Bonesaw and Damien Corvin from the Kings of the North? Is that right?
Yes, but they kind of came about a year in. So the school at the time was called Pro Wrestling Ulster, and
yes,
it was run by two guys that I want to speak nicely, but like, I don't feel like there was no structure really in the training. It was kind of like, here's a crash mat, here's the ring, what moves do you want to learn tonight? Do you want to do a swanton off the top? There was no like fundamentals really, or psychology, or why do we do things and stuff. So that stuff definitely came in after when Corbin and Bonesaw kind of took over the school, and that's when things started happening. And of course, traveling down to train with Joe still, down at his school in OTT down in Dublin and things. So, and then obviously when I moved to England, then training with Rampage Brown every week, has also helped me, make great improvements. But like I say, again, I don't really think I had that much training before people were like, okay, let's get this guy in a ring because he looks pretty decent, so let's see what he's got. And then I really feel like I've learned a lot myself, like just being on the road and just wrestling consistently, like the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Like you can only do so much in a training facility, or having a practice match when there's no crowd there and stuff. But when you're out there in front of a live audience, a live crowd, in there with somebody who's more experienced than you, that's when you're really learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you touched on it a little bit earlier on, as far as getting feedback after all your matches and absorbing as much information as you can, especially from those that have been there and done that. But what do you remember about some of your early matches? I mean, I've spoken to many wrestlers, and they've either had an embarrassing story that happened kind of in their first match, or the nerves really kind of attacked them before the bell. But did you have any experiences like that, or did you kind of take it all in your stride? Any kind of stories from your first few matches then, Adam?
I definitely didn't take it all in my stride. I honestly, even to this day, I kind of, I get so like in my own head, and I end up taking myself off. Once I've spoke my opponent, blah blah blah. I kind of just, I can't relax till I hear that free count after the match, and I know like, okay, that went okay, or the crowd reactions were decent. But I mean, for example, I remember I was booked to have a match with Bull Dempsey.
Yep.
So this was for Magnus, for Nick Aldis' company, when he was back in the UK and he was put on the show, and I'd only come off Love Island, so this would have been like early 2017. Didn't really have many matches, so we sort this match out and everything. We're ready to go out there, and just before I go out, Nick hands me a mic and says, "Oh, do you mind doing a promo before the match?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, and he's like, "Oh, just go out there and just be like cocky and say that blah blah blah." So I'm like, oh, okay, but I've just got this match done in my head, and now you're throwing this on me. So I was like, right, okay. So I go out there, probably, I can't even remember, probably deliver a terrible promo about just like, oh, I'm Love Island, I'm a superstar, look at me, blah blah blah. Bull comes out, the bell goes, and I mean, my mind just goes blank. Like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what's about to happen. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas before I went out, I was confident. I was like, yeah, I got this. We can do this. Come on. And I mean, I just had a complete brain fart. And he was laying the stuff in like pretty heavy, because he was trying to like get something out of me, get some sort of reaction. And I honestly, I would hate to watch that match back, but I don't even know. There might be footage, but I don't think it's online. But it was like, to me, it was absolutely terrible. And I remember like I actually cried when I got backstage to Bull, and I was like, I'm so sorry, like I don't. And he was just like, to his credit, he was so nice with me. He was like, dude, it happens. This stuff happens. You're still green. You're still learning. Like, don't beat yourself up so much. But I just felt like so embarrassed. I felt like I let him down, because before we went out, I was like, yeah, I got this. We're good. We're ready to go. And just I think that shows how much my passion as well, that like it affected me that much.
Yeah.
I didn't kind of come back and be like, oh well, yeah, that wasn't the best, but sure, I'll get better and we'll have, there'll be other matches that like that really affected me. And it's something that I always remember. I just remember crying, like not like bawling my eyes out, but I just remember, tears and just apologizing to him so much. So,
but I suppose if nothing else, Adam, it proved that you cared about what you were doing and you wanted to do your best out there.
Yeah, definitely, and I think he could see that as well, and that's why I can't give him enough credit because somebody else could have been like, what are you doing? And like that was terrible, and I come over here from America after being in NXT, and you make me look like, So to his credit, he was just like, dude, it happens. Don't beat yourself up. You'll get better. You'll learn from it, and I obviously have, and hopefully when I'm more experienced, if someone has a similar position, I'll be able to help someone that might have that similar position in the future.
Absolutely. And I mean, a similar line of question, really. You mentioned that you fought Bull Dempsey fairly early on, but within the first, I'd say, couple of years, 2.5 years, you'd already faced quite a few big names from the UK Indies, certainly, I mean, such as Joseph Connors, Damien Dunn, Bram, the UK Pitbulls, and the list goes on and on and on. But that must have been an awesome learning experience. I mean, you've already mentioned how much you learned just from being in the ring and the experience you had with Bull Dempsey, but being in the ring with some of those other big names from the UK scene must have been an amazing learning experience. But did you feel at any time that things were moving maybe a little bit too quick for you during your first couple of years? And did you feel that you had to kind of constantly reassess how things were going?
Yeah, like, coming off the back of the TV show Love Island that I did, obviously promoters were thinking, okay, this show is really popular. Let's book this guy because he'll bring in some tickets. Girls might come to the show because they liked him on the show or whatever.
Yeah.
So I literally, in the space of a few weeks, go from having one match every, maybe 2 or 3 months to all of a sudden having like a calendar pretty much full of like every weekend back to back. And, I look back, and again, I'm honest enough to say, like, I wasn't ready for all these opportunities that I was getting. But it's why I went on that show, because I wanted to get my name out there as a wrestler to get better, because back then there weren't so many opportunities in Ireland. There is now. OTT is obviously a lot bigger now and it's more popular, and those guys are smashing it. But back then it wasn't, as busy a schedule as that, So all of a sudden I'm like in the ring with these people that have been wrestling like 10 plus years, and I'm just trying to just learn basically like as I go along. And I think, to my credit, a lot of them say, I came in and I was just humble, I was just hungry, I just wanted to learn, I wanted to prove myself that, like I've said before, no one asked me to be a wrestler. No one came to me and said, Adam said, we want you, we need you to be in this business. I decided that, I had that passion, I found it again, and obviously saw there were opportunities to do it as a career, and I decided, okay, this is what I want to put my all in, and this is what I want to do. So, I did feel like things were going real fast, and obviously I got a WWE tryout in 2017, which wasn't that long after the show. So again, there was a couple of people saying to me, oh, they're going to sign you because you're still green, you look how you do, you're Irish, so they're probably going to take you to developmental. So I guess going into that tryout, in my head, I was like, this could happen. Like I could end up getting the Florida dream where you get signed and shipped off, and I'm in the PC every day learning. So not that I went in there thinking like, oh, this is 100% guaranteed, but I felt like, okay, I've got a real good chance of getting signed here, and obviously it didn't happen.
Did they give you any feedback following that tryout then, Adam? I mean, what sort of lessons did you learn, or what sort of feedback did you get from any of the producers or trainers there?
So the tryout, like physically and fitness wise, I was fine. Again, I had to do a match with Josh Bowden, and again, I wasn't ready to be like in there having a match. I don't think, obviously he was more experienced, so he put most of it together. But again, I can't even really remember much of what we did. But I just felt like, okay, if I can smash these fitness drills and smash a promo and kind of show how I look, then that should hopefully go in my stead. And obviously they can teach, and we can work on the match and how I am as a wrestler in the future. So I think the try went okay. I remember after, stupidly, I walked up with Mr. William Regal and I said, is there anything in particular that I should be working on? And he just stopped me and he said, why do you think there would be just one thing that you need to work on? You should always be wanting to work on everything. And like looking back, I'm like, why did I ask that question? What a silly question. But humbly, I obviously knew I wanted to work on everything. But just from a standpoint of what he had seen, I was like, is there anything like that you really think is the stuff that I really? But he was, he painted the picture that you want to be an all-rounder because you know, you might look great, but if you can't go on the mic, you're never going to become a great star. Or you might be a great talker, but if you don't work on your physique in some way to stand up to the standard of matches that you need to be having these days on these takeovers of things, then again, you're never going to be given those opportunities and stuff. So, and again, being honest, Mr. William Regal must have stood and talked to me for about 10 minutes. And I, like, my brain just zoned out. I was just like, again, I'm standing in the O2 Arena and just had a try it, and William Regal's now standing giving me advice and stuff. And, you know, again, to be fair, he's always kind of kept in touch with me and stuff, and has been someone that, you know, I can email, you know, William Regal and he'll like get back to me within like
That's
10,
really cool. That's really cool.
Really good that, you know, he's someone that I can speak to and send matches to for feedback, and I have and continue to do so.
That's really awesome. And it sounds like some of his feedback did kind of sink in, although you was kind of a little bit awestruck by the sounds of it, and it's lived with you and it's helped to kind of push you along. And that's really cool. And he probably appreciates you kind of coming up to him and asking him,
sure.
You know, although it might have sounded like a silly question to you at the time.
Can I just say one thing? So like,
yeah,
you know, they didn't sign me, but I think maybe they thought, here's a TV guy that thinks he can just walk into WWE, try it and get signed. So I think maybe they didn't sign me to see, okay, does this guy really want it? Does he want to be a wrestler? Like, is he going to put in the work to like to earn it? Or is he just thinking he can use the back of a TV show to kind of get himself there? So I kind of think that's maybe why it didn't happen. They wanted to just keep their eye on me. And the point was actually proven because when I've had some recent talks about NXT UK and stuff, in the initial email from William Regal, you know, it said like I've been keeping an eye on you and stuff. So that just kind of shows that, you know, they put me out of their mind for a while, but they just kept an eye on me to see how I was doing. And obviously the past like 2 years I've been like so busy in the UK and making a name for myself and winning titles, and they obviously saw, okay, look, he's stuck at it, he's put in the work, he's getting better, so now that's, you know, possibly giving him an opportunity. So
absolutely. And I've got to be honest with you, Adam, one of the first times I was aware of yourself as a pro wrestler was back in 2017, and it was an OTT show that was advertised. It was you versus Drew Galloway. Now, you probably remember that match very, very fondly, but tell us about that experience, because of course he's currently the WWE World Champion, and doing some amazing things since he returned to that company. And he was doing amazing things kind of on the independents between his stints with WWE, but having that experience in the ring with Drew Galloway, Drew McIntyre back in 2017. I mean, how did it come about, first of all? And give us your kind of thoughts on the overall experience with Drew.
Yeah, so I remember we were at an OTT show in Dublin, and I was part of like a 3-man faction called the Body Bros, and we were just these like really cocky, arrogant guys that just wore tight jeans, tight t-shirts, baby oil, came out to the ring. We were all about each other, how we look and stuff. So OTT favorite Martina is in the ring, and the crowd's going crazy, but we come out and we did a promo together, and like we just belittled her basically for like not being in shape and like not looking like us. And I think CT Flexor Carl gave her some protein and stuff, and then I think like I was in the corner with Martina possibly, and then Drew slides in the ring and takes out the other two, and then I feed round and take a claymore kick from Drew and just take that, and out we go. And I thought that was maybe going to be it. And then a few weeks later, Joe obviously messages me and says, okay, I want to do you against Drew in Belfast.
Wow.
And again, I'm just like, am I ready for that? Like, it's Drew McIntyre and Drew Galloway at the time. So, and I knew what sort of a rampage and what a storm he was on. He was flying everywhere. He was champion, like, Evolve. He was getting himself so about. And then I'm like, right, okay, now I'm getting a chance in my hometown to face, like, you know, one of the biggest stars in wrestling.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was with my girlfriend in, it must have been, was it Orlando? The takeover he came back. That would have been Orlando.
Yep.
Yeah. So sitting in the crowd with my girlfriend, and Drew comes up on the screen. Obviously he had re-signed, and I remember just being like, oh, like awesome for him, but I was like, my match isn't going to happen now. Like I'm supposed to wrestle him in 2 weeks in Belfast. Obviously that's not going to happen. So I was a bit like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So I messaged Joe and was like, oh, obviously that match is off, and he was like, no, it's still going ahead. So then I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, he's just re-signed with the company NXT, and now I'm going to face him still in like 2 weeks. So I just remember again, like, not that I wasn't, like, I look back and I'm like, still wasn't ready. Would love to have that match again now and sort of show the improvements that I made since then, because obviously it was like 3 years ago. But then obviously the night in Belfast, the match went well. Drew got on the mic after the match and said some, he didn't have to do that. I didn't know he was going to do that. I rolled out of the ring. I was ready to head to the back and leave him to have the crowd, because he was the main event. He was the guy. And he got on the mic, obviously, and said, that I was the future and that the business needed more guys like me and that he trains hard and he still can't get a physique like mine and stuff. So, just loads of really nice stuff that he didn't have to say, but he went out of his way to put me over, as they say. And that's a night that just, I can remember it so vividly, and just that feeling of like, is this happening? This is Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway, who's going back to WWE, and now he is, WWE champion, and I still keep in touch with him now and again, some messages and stuff, and he's always there if I need to ask him something or advice. He gets back to me, and he's just a humble guy. He deserves everything that he has, honestly.
Yeah, and another really awesome kind of learning experience for you as well. I mean, it sounds like everything we spoke about so far has been like a pivotal kind of learning experience that's pushed you on and on and on. But another experience I want to ask about is about 5-Star Wrestling. Now, it was a short-lived promotion, but you was involved in some pretty tasty matches. You had some great opponents that you hung with in the ring, and you was in the ring mostly tag and multi-man matches, if I remember rightly, against the likes of Carlito, Chris Masters, Roy and Zach Knight, RVD, Rey Mysterio. So some legends there, to be honest with you, of both UK and the American scene. Give us your kind of highlights and your experience of being on 5-Star. Like, it was short-lived, but it was another career highlight for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, and apart from it's funny because apart from NXT UK, I feel like anything kind of that was happening in British wrestling, I was actually a part of.
Yeah.
And I think slowly it stopped being okay, let's bring the Love Island guy in. It was more like, no, this guy's putting in the work. He's getting better. He has the potential to go on to do something. So I feel like I was earning the opportunities myself through the hard work that I was doing, and through people's opinions of me, or they saw that I was just humble and wanted to get better. So I needed bigger opportunities to get better. But 5-Star, again, I was a singles guy until 5-Star, and then all of a sudden, I'm put in this tag team with Charlie Sterling, who is phenomenal, and we're called Max Money, and again we're this flamboyant kind of tag team. But I didn't really know the ins and outs of tag team wrestling really, so again, huge learning experience.
Yeah,
I'm thinking during matches, am I in the ring too long? Have I made this look like I'm just a singles guy? Because the whole point of tag team is you cut off the ring, you work as a team, and I didn't really have much experience of that. And then obviously I'm in the ring tagging with Charlie, who's so loud and flamboyant and confident, and believes in himself so much, and rightly so, because he's incredible, and he's one of the top in the UK. So that was another huge kind of learning experience of just being on the apron and just watching him in there working. And obviously, like you say, I mean, there were some amazing opponents, guys that have been, legends in WWE and other promotions, and then some of the best in the UK. So, again, that seems like so long ago, but just when I look back at the stuff that I've done in 4 years, it's it's just awesome to think, and I was part of that, and I was supposed to wrestle Rey Mysterio in a singles match in Belfast, but that got cancelled because of weather. I think there was a lot of bad weather around that time, and I was gutted that that match didn't happen, because that that would have been one, because Ray was one of my favorites growing up and stuff. But that experience, it was short lived, but working hard, Cam, doing promos in front of a live audience, timing of matches, knowing when, okay, your time's almost up, let's get this all together, so just all these things that have helped me develop. But even back then, I wasn't really, wrestling like the full-time schedule that I was before COVID and stuff, and doing the holiday camps and things. So I wasn't the wrestler that, I was like now. So when I see that those matches are still on YouTube and stuff, I'm kind of like, because if someone hasn't heard of me before, or they want to go watch a match of mine, and then they see some of that stuff, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, that was cool, but I'm better than that now. I know I've improved since then. So I don't actually have that many recent matches, because they're usually all on VOD, where you've got to pay to subscribe to be to get that. Like my match against Pac, for example, or Pete Dunne at OTT. You've got to pay to see all those. So I don't think if someone types me in on YouTube, they're not really seeing the best. But hopefully, whenever the world gets back to normal, I'll be out there smashing it again, and continuing the work that I was putting in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that same year, 2018, you're also involved in World of Sport, WOS Wrestling. Another fantastic opportunity when you mentioned that outside of NXT UK, you were kind of there at the forefront of these kind of big opportunities. So 5 Star and then World of Sport. How did that opportunity come about for you? Because I mean, you were involved in quite a few of the episodes, certainly involved in that tag team tournament where you lost out in the final. Then you got attacked by your partner Nathan Cruz. That led to an awesome kind of loser must leave World of Sport ladder match against Nathan Cruz the following week. She had a really good run on the TV show that led to the World of Sport tour, which had some really good matches with Nathan Cruz once again. So how did that whole opportunity come about, Adam? And what's your kind of overall lasting memories of World of Sport or that experience that you had?
Yeah, so I obviously started wrestling the Butlins camp and that run, and it was kind of linked with who was running that to then be in touch with the ITV and stuff. So I remember they brought me and Justin Seism to Manchester one day, and had us in this ITV building and stuff, and just sort of talked about what the idea was for the show and the plan and things. So we didn't talk about the tag team stuff or things like with Nathan. Then we just knew like this is going to be on TV. It's going to start soon, and obviously I was excited to be a part of it and stuff. But it was more closer to the time when we were going to film and stuff that they said, okay, we want you to be in a tag team with Nathan. And obviously I've been on the road and traveled with Nathan, for hours and wrestled him so many times before the World of Sport started. So I was kind of like awesome, really excited. There's a guy that I know well, such good friends with him. And now we're in the ring being able to be a tag team and kind of bounce off each other. And it was similar to the Max Money stuff that I'd done with Charlie, because we were just two guys that were full of each other and just thought we were God's gift and so immersed in ourselves that, that's what the crowd wanted to hit. And obviously working with Nathan, Nathan Cruz is so good as well. He's one of the top in the UK. Don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is and how much he's helped me, honestly, in my career. Just talking to me when I've wrestled him, the feedback, and just learning from him, like wrestling him every night and stuff. So, that was a great experience. Then obviously that was my first ever ladder match that we went out and did.
Really?
And I
Wow.
was really excited for that because, just it's something different. It's not just a normal match. There's a stipulation. There's risks involved. So I loved that match. And then obviously when we get told in the tour, they were like, we know ladder matches are tough. So we've got like 6 dates. So we'll probably just make you do 2 or 3 ladder matches. And I was like, no. I was like, let's do a ladder match every one because I loved it that much. And Nathan was like, Adam, no. Like, let's just, So, but I've got pictures that I was just looking at the other day on my phone of those the World of Sport tour, and they're probably my favorite matches and memories of my career so far because just
Really? Wow.
because the crowd were so receptive. They were again kids and families. They'd watched us on TV and now they're seeing us live, and then obviously you've got an element of just the risk and the fun of a ladder match, and it's I could do it. I honestly like, although it is tough on the body, I could do a ladder match every night because I just love it. And just planning different things and different risky ideas and stuff. And, it was just awesome to be a part of that. And, I'm kind of just disappointed and sad that nothing could really come off the back of that because the tours were busy. And, they definitely were busy. People were buying merch. So there was obviously an interest there for a different product, in the UK. And you've got NXT UK and other promotions that, fit that more edgy adult demographic. But then what about those kids that are diehard wrestling fans that could have watched something on ITV for free, on Channel 3, like during the week? And obviously, as a parent, you sit and watch your child enjoying it. It brings you joy as well as a parent, I'm sure. And it kind of just the roster we had, it had something for everyone. There was comedy, there was big, you had Will Ospreay, who was a huge name, Rampage Brown, and great women, Viper and B Priestley, Kaylee Ray. There was a great roster to work with, and just sad that I think towards the end of it, that's when a few NXT UK offers came in to some people there, and that's when obviously you need to make a living, and there was no guarantee that World of Sport was going to be anything. So rightfully, you got to look out for yourself and what's going to develop the next step in your career. So again, I'm just glad to be a part of it. It's something I can look back on, and Nathan and I talk about just how we love those matches. So we've got a bond of just bashing each other, and it was just great crack.
And your love for ladder matches was born.
100%. And I don't think I've had one since. I've done one at Hull City Hall. Nathan myself and Justin Seisman, but I think that was
Right.
my last ladder match. So hopefully when things, if anyone's listening and they're booking a show, I'm down for a ladder match any night. So let me know.
Awesome. Let's go back to OTT then, because I think in all of your career, OTT is probably the promotion that's been closest to your heart. I think it's given you possibly your biggest and maybe some of your best matches. I mean, we've mentioned some of the opponents at OTT already: Drew Galloway, Pete Dunne, Pac. At the beginning of last year, almost 12 months ago, when you won the gender neutral championship against Mark Haskins. So some awesome opponents, some great opportunities. Would you say that OTT has kind of been the promotion that's closest to your heart so far, then, Adam?
Definitely, yeah. Because I just think Joe's always kind of like taking me under his wing a bit. Like, I'm not in communication with him every day, but he's a man that I know that I can go to, and he'll always give me an honest opinion. And so obviously being from Ireland, you want to be part of every show that OTT are doing. And to be honest, there was a lot of times when I was wrestling in the UK that Joe would message me and say, "Hey dude, got this date, you free?" And I was already booked somewhere, or I was on the road with the NGW stuff, like doing Butlins, and I'd have to say to him, "No, I'm sorry dude, I've already committed to this." So I kind of felt like living in the UK and wrestling in the UK that I wasn't really part of OTT, or I was getting kind of forgotten about by the Irish fans and those diehard OTT fans. I was kind of, because it was like Corbin and Bonesaw, More Than Hype, Scotty Davis, people like that were making big names for themselves. And I was kind of, yes, I was making a name for myself in the UK, but I always wanted to be like a homegrown talent from Ireland that was getting those chances at OTT every time. But I understand why. I was busy. It's no bad thing, because it's what helped make me better. And then anytime I did come back to OTT, the fans were like, "Whoa, he's improved since the last time we saw him." And again, credit to Joe. He's always looked out for me and tried to give me good matches, good opponents that were going to elevate me and help me learn. And to this date, I think my match against Pac is probably my best match, probably. I think, which again, there's a guy that is part of AEW, one of the best in the world, and Joe believes in me again to be like, "Okay, we want you to be in this match against Pac in Belfast." So I can't speak highly enough of Joe and the opportunities he's given me to make a name for myself there in Ireland, and then obviously believing in me even more by giving me the opportunity to win a title, which I did at the start of last year. So again, I felt like things were just starting to, and then obviously COVID hit. So hopefully when the world goes back together or back to normal, then I'll be able to continue what I've been doing.
Absolutely, and don't forget that you're still their gender neutral champion. So you'd probably be the longest reigning champion by the time this pandemic's over. But speaking of kind of opportunities and success, I was doing my kind of research on you, and I think within the space of 2 years and 4 months, you won 11 championships. I don't know if you was aware of that. 9 singles championships, 2 tag championships. And I believe that you hold about 4 or 5 championships today. So that's an amazing kind of record of winning championships, 11 championships in just over 2 years. That's a hell of a record. Must make you pretty proud.
Definitely. Coming from a reality TV show, to then being thrown into the UK scene where people are like, "Okay, who's this guy?" And like a lot of people say, when I first met you, I expected you to be such a prick or so full of yourself. And I completely, that's just, I might betray that sometimes in certain, when I'm wrestling at some points. But for me, it was just like, okay, I got what I wanted from that show. Now I've got the opportunity to make a name for myself, work hard, be humble, learn from everyone that I can. And I think, again, like I say, the fact that these promotions were not only booking me for matches, but also believed in me and my potential by putting championships on me, speaks volumes. And, in myself and the work that I did and what people saw in me. And just to anyone out there, no matter if it's out of wrestling or whatever it is, as long as you put in the work and you're willing to be patient, opportunities and things will happen for you. Yeah, some people get opportunities quicker than others, for whatever circumstances, but you can't let that affect you or think that it's never going to happen for you. If you truly believe that it's what you want to do or that it's what you want to go and get, then just put in the work.
That's awesome. And I was going to ask you as one of my closing questions, what's the best advice that you've been given since being in the business? But I think you've kind of summed it up very, very nicely there. So I'm going to go to my final question then, Adam, if that's okay. What do you believe the future holds for Adam Maxted. I mean, are there any promotions that you haven't worked for that you'd like to, whether it be kind of in the UK or abroad? Any wrestlers that you haven't wrestled yet that are on your bucket list? Any kind of plans or kind of any goals for the future when the world gets back to normal, of course?
So, well, I won't give too much away, but so before I got ill, like NXT UK was looking real like cemented concrete, and then obviously I got sick and stuff, so I'm kind of just, and then now things are on hold. So, and then they brought Rampage Brown in, so I think they're kind of just waiting to get things going with them. And then obviously there was a lot of negativity towards the end of last year in the wrestling business, so I think they just want to get everything going again and getting the brand back to the heights that it should be. And then who knows, in a couple of months we'll see what happens. But I also got a message about a promotion that could be starting in Dubai in the middle of this year. Nice. And they told me to send over some stuff. So if I haven't signed anything there, then go out, get a tan. Dubai, wrestle in Dubai would be pretty cool. But in terms of matches, I think myself and Austin Theory would have a good match.
Yeah.
Ridge Holland is someone that I actually wrestled in France before he moved over to America. He had been signed, but they wanted him to just get some reps and stuff while he was sorting out his visa and stuff. So I went to France with him, and we had a match there. So I'd like to do that with him again. Just two big guys, hard hitting. Would obviously love to wrestle Drew again, and I just think it would be a cool story. You've got that footage of where he said, you're the future. You're gonna the business needs more guys like you. Imagine if then we end up having like a match, in a big promotion like WWE, for example. That would be awesome to kind of show
that would be awesome.
The full circle, the full journey. And then I'd love to wrestle Randy Orton because I just love Randy Orton. And, he's like a guy that I, not that I steal all his moves, but I definitely, he's probably the guy that I watch the most because I just think he's so smooth and just what a career he's had. And imagine if it was WrestleMania and I had a match with him, and if I could beat him, then I would earn a contract. That would be a pretty cool,
that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool.
So those are probably people, but the list is endless because there's as there's so much talent in the UK and around the world. So anyone that I'm going to be in the ring with that's more experienced, then I'm only going to get better, and that's what I need. I need those challenges I believe in myself that I've got it, but I need to go out there and prove it, against the best in the world and stuff. So.
Yeah. But Adam, it's been amazing speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the Wrestling with Jonas podcast. But before we let you go, here's an opportunity for you to share us with your social media links, where we can find you on Instagram. If you've got a Twitter account, on Facebook, so that we can get in touch with you, say hi, and learn more about Adam Maxted. So probably the hardest question I'm going to ask you in the whole of this interview, but do you remember all your social links?
I do.
Good.
Facebook's just Adam Carl Maxted, and Twitter and Instagram are just Adam Maxted, so pretty easy to find. I'm usually topless in most of my pictures, and I'm usually in the gym in most of the videos, so you'll know that's me.
That's awesome. Well, it's been a delight and a pleasure to speak to you, Adam. Thank you so much for coming on the Wrestling with Jonas podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.